The city of Draction Prime never slept. Lights flashed, ships landed and lifted off. And the air always smelled like smoke and fuel, but deep in the lower levels, under the neon lights and metal towers, something darker was happening. A crowd had gathered in the slave ring, cheering and shouting, their eyes glowing with greed and power. They were here to watch the final prize of the night. Two chained alien women stood on a raised platform, their wrists bound, their heads lowered. One had gold skin, bright golden eyes, and tall, proud shoulders. Even though she was bruised, the other was smaller. With silver hair, pale blue skin, and eyes full of quiet fear. They didn't speak, didn't fight. They had already lost everything. The slaver, a huge alien with sharp teeth and a cruel smile, lifted his hand to silence the crowd. "Tonight," he shouted, "we present a special reward for a special warrior." The crowd turned, and a human man was brought forward, tall, tired-looking, with a scar across his face and eyes that held no joy. His name was Ethan, and he had fought for the Galactic Syndicate in the Outer Wars. He had earned many medals, but this reward made him sick inside. "You may choose one," the slaver said, pointing to the chained women. "One will be yours as a gift for your service." Ethan looked at both of them carefully. He saw the fear in their eyes, the way they stood still but shook inside. He took a slow breath, then said clearly, "I'll take them both." The crowd gasped. The slaver's smile vanished. "You are allowed one," he growled, "not two." "Then I choose neither," Ethan said firmly. "I won't play this game." The slaver leaned closer, voice low and full of poison. "You insult us, human. You refuse a reward. Fine. Then we'll take both girls back and sell them to the mines. They won't last a day there." One of the girls, the silver-haired one, flinched, her lips trembling. The taller one raised her chin but said nothing, her eyes burning Ethan's. Jaw tightened. He stepped forward, hands at his sides, not near his weapon. "Not yet. You touch them, I will stop you." Laughter burst from the crowd. The slaver signaled to his guards. "Teach him a lesson," he said coldly. 3 guards rushed toward Ethan, weapons drawn. But Ethan wasn't a war hero for nothing. In one fast motion, he pulled his sidearm, rolled to the side, and shot the first guard in the leg. The second he hit with the butt of his weapon, knocking him cold. The third tried to fire, but Ethan was already too close. He punched the guard hard in the chest, sending him crashing into the stage wall. The crowd screamed and scattered, some cheering, others running. The slaver roared in rage and raised a shock rod. But Ethan kicked it from his hand. He pointed his weapon at the slaver, eyes cold as ice. "Give me the keys," he said. The slaver hesitated, then threw the keycard toward him. Ethan caught it and rushed to the 2 alien women. They stared at him, confused and silent. He unlocked their chains quickly. "You're free now," he said gently. "Come with me." The taller woman spoke first, voice sharp and proud. "Why would a human save us?" "I don't care what species you are," Ethan said. "You're not property." The smaller one nodded slowly, whispering, "No one has ever said that before." "Then let me be the first," he said. The slaver reached for a hidden weapon, but before he could fire, Ethan shot him in the leg. The alien screamed, falling to the ground. Ethan helped the girls down from the stage, keeping his weapon ready. More guards would come soon, and the syndicate would never forget this, but Ethan had made his choice. As they ran through the back alleyways of Draction Prime, the golden-skinned girl asked, "What's your name, human?" "Ethan," he replied, not looking back. "What's yours?" "I am Zara," she said. The smaller one added softly, "Kiva." "All right then," Ethan said, leading them into the shadows. "Let's get out of here." Behind them, alarms were already ringing, and lights flashed red across the city skyline. They had started something big, something dangerous, but in that moment, Ethan knew he wouldn't turn back. Not now, not ever. Asterisk alarms echoed behind them as Ethan, Zara, Kiva ran through the dark alleys of Draction Prime. The city around them was waking up to chaos. Red lights flashed, drones lifted into the air, and bounty alerts sounded across every screen. The Syndicate wanted them back, and they wanted them alive barely. Zara limped slightly, her golden skin bruised but her steps strong. Kiva stayed close to Ethan, her silver hair tangled, her small hands gripping the edge of his jacket. They didn't know where they were going, but anywhere was better than back to the slave market. Ethan guided them through the underwalks, down metal stairs, and narrow tunnels where Syndicate patrols rarely went. He didn't speak much, but when he looked at the girls, his eyes were filled with something neither of them had seen before: kindness. After almost an hour of running, they reached a hidden hangar inside a scrapyard. It looked abandoned, but inside sat an old cargo ship. Rusted on the outside, but still alive on the inside. "This is my ship," Ethan said, opening the hatch. "She's not pretty, but she flies." Zara looked around and asked coldly, "You saved us just to lock us in another cage?" Ethan turned slowly, meeting her eyes. "No cages on this ship," he said. "You can leave any time, but if you stay, we stick together." Kiva stepped onto the ship first, her voice quiet but steady. "I'll stay," she said. "I don't." "Want to run alone again?" Zara looked away, hesitated, then followed them inside. The ship's lights flickered on, and soft humming sounds filled the air. Ethan walked to the cockpit and checked the screens. The system flashed red: bounty alert, 3 fugitives, armed and dangerous. Their faces were already everywhere. "We need to leave," Ethan muttered. "They'll lock the port soon." As he started the engine, Zara spoke from behind him. "You could have left us back there. Why didn't you?" Ethan didn't turn. "Because no one deserves chains," he said. "Not you, not anyone." Zara didn't reply, but she sat down quietly, watching him work. The ship lifted off with a shaky hum, then soared into the night sky. But just as they reached the edge of the city dome, 2 Syndicate drones appeared on the radar. "They're already here," Ethan said, tightening his grip on the controls. "Hold on." Lasers flashed past the window, and the ship shook. Ethan turned the ship fast, diving through a canyon of towers, dodging fire. Zara jumped into the gunner seat, her hands moving fast. She had used weapons before many times. "Target locked," she said, and fired. 1 drone exploded in flames. Kiva clung to the side rail, her eyes wide but not panicked. She watched Ethan and Zara fight, side by side, human and alien. Working together, it felt strange, and yet, right, the second drone tried to follow. But Ethan flew low through a tunnel and blasted the exit behind them. Smoke and fire lit up the sky as they disappeared into the clouds. Finally, silence returned. They had escaped, for now, inside the ship. Ethan set it on autopilot and walked back to the cabin. Zara was cleaning her wounds with a cloth, her expression unreadable. Kiva sat on a bench, knees pulled to her chest, eyes watching everything. Ethan handed them both water packs and ration bars. "Not much, but it'll help," he said. Kiva smiled slightly. "Thank you." Zara took hers without a word, but she didn't look angry anymore. As they rested, Ethan asked, "What were you before they captured you?" Zara looked up slowly. "I was a soldier," she said. "I fought in the Red Ring Wars. When we lost, I was taken." Kiva spoke softly. "I was just a navigator. I know star routes most people forgot." She touched the side of her head. "I have a gift. I remember maps, paths, even hidden ones." Ethan nodded. "Then we'll need that. The Syndicate won't stop chasing us." He looked at both of them. "You don't owe me anything, but if we stay together, maybe we can stay ahead of them." Kiva nodded right away. "I'll stay." Zara paused, then said slowly, "If you ever lie to us, I will kill you." Ethan gave a small smile. Fair. Enough. They didn't know it yet, but that night, something powerful had begun. Not just an escape, not just survival. A team was forming. Broken people, bound by fire and chains. But maybe, just maybe, they could build something stronger. Something free. The stars outside the ship looked peaceful, but inside the ship, the air was heavy, filled with silence. Scars and secrets. Ethan guided the old freighter through a narrow asteroid belt, dodging broken rocks with slow, careful turns. The ship was running low on fuel, and the hull had taken some damage during the escape. They needed to hide, repair, and rest. There's an old docking station ahead, Ethan said, pointing to a blinking red dot on the radar. It's abandoned now. Deep space pirates used to use it, but it's off the grid. Zara nodded, her eyes scanning the screen. If it's off the grid, it'll be safe unless someone else is hiding there too. Kiva sat near the back, her knees tucked under her, hands working on a small, broken screen. She had already rewired 2 panels on the ship with just her fingers and a hairpin. Ethan watched her for a moment, impressed. You fix things fast, he said. I had to learn. Kiva whispered, when they locked me up, I broke the cameras. They moved me. But I remembered where they put everything. Zara didn't show it, but she had started to respect both of them. This wasn't just another runaway mission. This was becoming something more. As they approached the abandoned station, it looked like a floating skeleton in the dark. Half the lights were broken, and the docking bay doors creaked open like ancient jaws. But it was quiet, and no one was waiting to shoot them. For now, that was enough. They landed inside slowly, the ship groaning as it touched down. All right, Ethan said, standing up. We have maybe one day before someone picks up our trail. Let's get what we need and move. The station smelled of rust and old dust, broken crates, cracked screens, and long-dead machines lined the halls. Zara took point, her knife in hand. Moving like a shadow, Ethan followed with his blaster ready, and Kiva stayed close, her eyes scanning the faded signs on the walls. This place used to be a trade post, Kiva said softly. Long before the syndicate, they found an old med station and power supply room. Ethan set to work restoring basic lights and ceiling. The doors, Zara checked the armory empty. Except for a few grenades and a stun rod, Kiva found a computer core still intact. She plugged into it and started pulling data. Hours passed. Inside the old command room, Zara sat by a cracked window. Watching stars drift by, Ethan walked over, sitting across from her. You okay? He asked. She didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, No one ever asked me that before. Ethan nodded. I guess it's a day of firsts. Zara stared at him for a long moment. When you saved us? Was it really just kindness? Ethan looked down at his hands. I saw too many people chained during the war. I was part of things I regret. He took a breath. Maybe this was my chance to make a different choice. Zara didn't say anything more, but her eyes softened just a little in the corner. Kiva suddenly gasped. I found something, she said, her voice filled with wonder. They both rushed over. On the cracked screen glowed a star map hold, hand-coded, hidden deep inside the core. These are lost routes, Kiva said, pointing at curved lines across distant systems, secret paths used by the Andari Pact. These aren't on any syndicate records. Zara leaned in. My mother told stories of these paths used to move royalty during wartime. Ethan looked at the map, then at the 2 women. This could help us disappear, he said. Move where they can't follow. Kiva smiled. I can guide us. I remember some of the symbols. Suddenly, a beep sounded on the ship. Motion sensor, something was coming. Ethan ran to the screen and saw a small drone flying toward the station. Scout drone, probably looking for us, he said. Zara grabbed the stun rod and walked toward the docking bay. We can't let it escape. The 3 of them worked together, lured the drone into the loading zone. Kiva deactivated the maglocks, and Zara jumped from the shadows, smashing the drone with one hard strike. It sparked, twitched, and died. They dragged the broken drone inside. Kiva opened it and began studying its memory chip, encrypted. "But I can wipe it, maybe even send it a false location." Ethan smiled. "Then they'll be chasing shadows." Zara looked at the others and said something strange. "Maybe? This is more than escape now." They turned to her. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. She looked at them both, her voice quiet but strong. "Maybe we stop running. Maybe we find the rest of my people. The rest of Kiva's people, and fight back." The station was silent. But something powerful had started in that moment, in a forgotten place. 3 fugitives had become something more. A team, a spark, a plan. They had found shelter in the void. And from there, they would change everything. The stolen drone drifted outside the docking station, its false signal pulsing into space. Ethan watched the blinking red light fade into the black void. "Let's hope the Syndicate chases that." "Ghost," he said, his voice low, inside the old station. Kiva had finished uploading the star map, her fingers moving quickly across glowing screens. The hidden routes forgotten since the fall of the Andari Pact were now loaded into Ethan's ship. Zara stood near the ship's open hatch arms, crossed her golden eyes fixed on the hallway ahead. "I know where we need to go," she said quietly. "The last real safe place for people like us. Where?" Ethan asked. She turned, pointing at a jagged star in the upper left corner of the map. "Gorvex 5. That system has underground passageways, deep tunnels built by old engineers. Most don't even know it still exists." Ethan nodded. "Then?" "That's where we go." They left the station quietly, their ship slipping back into deep space. This time, they didn't speak much. All 3 were thinking the same thing. What if this was their last chance? The journey took several hours. Ethan flew carefully. Using hidden warp paths Kiva guided him through. Zara studied the ship's defenses. And Kiva curled up in a corner with her wires and tools. They didn't say it out loud, but all of them felt the weight of what they were doing. They weren't just escaping anymore, they were building something. When they reached Gorvex 5, the planet looked dead from space. Dark gray, full of craters and ash, but under the surface, far below the dust, lay the entrance to the tunnels. Ethan landed the ship on a rocky cliffside, near what looked like a collapsed ruin. The wind howled outside, and the air was cold and dry. They stepped out together, Ethan with his blaster, Zara with her knife, Kiva with a scanner in her hand. "This way," Kiva said, leading them toward the rocks. "There's an entrance under here, buried." They dug through sand and stone until Kiva found an old metal door covered in strange markings. Zara knelt down and traced the symbols with her fingers. "These are Andari words," she said, "warning signs, but also royal seals." Kiva tapped a small pad and the door groaned open. A wave of stale air hit them as they stepped inside. The tunnel was wide, carved from black stone and reinforced with thick metal beams. Faint lights still blinked along, the walls powered by something deep underground. "This place is still alive," Ethan said, surprised. They walked carefully. The only sounds were their steps and the low hum of ancient energy. The deeper they went, the more the air changed, cooler, cleaner. Old banners still hung from the ceiling, blue and gold, torn but still proud. Kiva touched one gently. "My people used to meet here," she whispered, "before the war." Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a huge underground hall. It was filled with broken machines, round tables, and star maps painted on the walls. In the center stood a glowing pedestal covered in dust, but still active. "What is that?" Ethan asked. Zara stepped forward slowly. "This is a command pillar. Only certain bloodlines can activate it." She took a deep breath and placed her hand on the stone. For a moment, Nothing happened, then the room lit up. A soft blue light filled the space, and a hologram burst into the Arand old recording. A tall alien man appeared in the light, his face proud but tired. To those who find this message, he said, the Indari Pact is broken. We were betrayed, but hope is not lost. The hologram showed a human man standing beside two alien women, one golden-skinned, one silver-haired. They chose unity when others chose war. The voice continued, if you have their blood or their spirit, you are the future. The message ended, and silence returned. Zara stepped back. Stunned, that was real. She said, that human. He was one of the first to join the pact. Kiva's voice trembled. We're repeating history. Ethan stood still, heart pounding. I don't know who I am to you two, but if there's a way to fix what the Syndicate destroyed, I'm in. Zara looked at him, her eyes softer now. You already made your choice back at the auction. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and Kiva's scanner beeped. Something's moving in the upper tunnels, she warned. Someone followed. U.S. They grabbed their weapons and took defensive positions. Through the shadows came a small figure, an old alien. Wrapped in rags, holding a walking stick, he stopped when he saw them. You carry the spark, he said in a cracked voice. You woke the halls. Others will come now. Some to join you, some to kill you. Ethan stepped forward. Then we. Better be ready. The old man smiled. This tunnel was broken, but now it lives again. And in the heart of the forgotten planet, 3 fugitives became something more. Not just survivors, but leaders. The tunnel of broken stars had become a path towards something new, something powerful, something worth fighting for. The old man's warning echoed through the tunnel long after he vanished into the shadows. Zara tightened her grip on her blade. Kiva silently returned to her scanner, and Ethan stared at the glowing command pillar in the middle of the room. They had awakened something ancient and dangerous. They'll come now, Zara said, her voice low and steady. Rebels, spies, bounty hunters, maybe even loyalists. We can't face them like this. Ethan replied, we need a ship that flies better than a junk bucket, armor, supplies, and maybe a plan that doesn't get us killed. Kiva raised her head, her eyes bright. I think there's something here, something more than just tunnels. They spent hours searching. Moving deeper into the underground complex, the structure was massive old, but full of untouched rooms, sealed doors, and flickering control panels waiting to be reactivated in one chamber. They found a small hangar with a sleek black starship under a layer of dust. Zara gasped when she saw it. That's an Indari strike craft. Only royalty or high command had access to these. Kiva ran to the console and touched the screen. A soft hum responded, the ship's systems coming to life slowly. It still works, she said, smiling. It's slow to boot, but it's alive, Ethan. Inspected the hull. This thing could outrun any Syndicate patrol, he said. Maybe even stand a fight if we upgrade it. They made a plan. Zara and Ethan would return to their ship, collect whatever tools and tech they had. Kiva would stay and work on the systems. She insisted she'd be safe. The scanners were still clear. Ethan didn't like splitting up, but time was short. They moved fast, exiting the tunnel in a small transport shaft that led straight to the surface. The wind howled again, dry and bitter. Their old ship sat quiet where they had left it, but someone had found it first. A Syndicate scout team stood around the ship, scanning the area and talking through comms. Zara froze, eyes narrowed. There are 6 of them, she whispered. They haven't gone inside yet. Ethan crouched behind a rock, thinking quickly. We can't let them find the entrance, he said. If they do, it's over. Zara nodded. Then we fight. They moved like ghosts, circling the scouts from 2 sides. Ethan crept up behind one and slammed the butt of his blaster into the man's neck. Zara leaped from a boulder, her knife flashing as she brought another down. The rest turned and opened fire. Red beams lighting up the sand. Ethan fired back, fast and accurate, dropping two before they could aim properly. The last tried to flee, but Zara tackled him to the ground, her blade at his throat. "Tell the syndicate." "Nothing," she hissed, "or I'll find you again." He nodded quickly, too scared to speak. They let him crawl away, bleeding and gasping. They gathered what gear they could from the fallen soldiers' Crower cells, rations, weapons. Then they rushed back toward the hidden shaft, disappearing into the rocks once again. Meanwhile, Kiva sat in the command chamber, her fingers dancing across ancient keys. The starship's engines purred in response, brighter now, more alive. But as she worked, she felt something like a whisper through the walls. Not words, not language, just presence, like something watching or remembering. She looked around, but saw nothing. Still, the feeling stayed with her. When Ethan and Zara returned, Kiva stood waiting, a strange look in her eyes. "Someone left a message here," she said. Softly, "not just the hologram, deeper. I found logs buried under layers of encryption." They read them together. It was a personal journal written by a human officer who served the Indari Pact long ago. His name was Captain Eli Arden. He had fought beside alien queens, lost everything, and died defending the space. But the last line chilled Ethan the most. "One day, someone will return not to run, but to rise." Zara stepped away, her voice shaking slightly. "This isn't just a base," she said. "It's a grave. And a promise." Just then, the warning lights blinked red movement above. More ships, larger this time. Kiva checked the scanners. "It's a syndicate cruiser." They followed the scouts. Ethan clenched his jaw. "We can't stay. We launch now, but the ship's weapons aren't ready." Kiva started. "I'll fly it anyway," Ethan said. "If we stay, we die. If we leave, we have a chance." Zara nodded. "Already running toward the cockpit. Then we fight with what we have." The sleek ship rose from the hangar, dust swirling around. As it powered up, the walls shook as the cruiser fired from orbit. But the new ship shot through the rocks and into the sky. Ethan took the controls, the ship responding like it knew him. Zara locked into the turret, targeting the first wave of drones. Kiva handled the shields, rerouting power to protect the engines. They flew like one, fast, sharp, and fearless, together. They broke through the blockade, burning into space and vanishing into the stars. Breathing heavy, Ethan looked at them both. "We're not just running anymore," he said. "We're fighting back." And from that moment on, every choice came with a cost, but for freedom, they were ready to pay the price. The ship glided through space like a shadow, silent, fast, and unseen, behind them. The syndicate cruiser drifted half-disabled, smoke pouring from its main engine. Zara had hit it with the last missile before they escaped. Now, they were free, but they all knew it wouldn't last. Inside the ship, Ethan was checking the navigation system. Kiva was bent over the control board, sweat on her forehead as she stabilized the shield grid. Zara stood near the back, sharpening her blade with slow, focused hands. "We need to disappear," Ethan said. "Not just hide, but vanish completely." Kiva raised her head. "There's one place that might help," she said. "A place deep in the Orion spiral, where old code still listens to the Pack's bloodline." Zara turned sharply. "You mean the temple core?" Kiva nodded. "Yes, it's hidden beneath a hollow moon, and Dari tech still runs under the surface. If we activate the core with our blood, it will send a beacon." "A beacon?" Ethan asked. "To who?" "To whoever's still loyal," Kiva whispered. The pact wasn't just a dream. It had followers, allies, even whole fleets that vanished after the war. Zara stepped forward, her voice low and serious. "If even one ship hears the call, we can fight." Ethan looked at both of them. He had started this journey just trying to stop a slave auction now. He was about to reignite a forgotten alliance from the ashes of war. "Then let's light the fire," he said. They set course for the hollow moon. Moving fast through deep space, the Syndicate was scanning every route, but Kiva used Old Smuggler. Lanes and Waria bypassed signals to stay one step ahead. Zara didn't rest. She trained in the lower deck. Moving like a dancer with blades in both hands, Ethan barely slept. Eyes always on the radar. Fingers always near his weapon. When they reached the moon, it looked like a dead rock, floating alone. But under the surface, buried deep, was the core built centuries ago. Before humans ever reached this part of space, the ship landed silently in a crater. And they entered a dark tunnel carved into the moon's skin. Inside, everything was silent. Walls of black stone and glowing veins pulsed under their feet. The deeper they walked, the warmer it became, not hot, but alive, like something was waking. They reached the chamber round, ancient, massive. In the center was a floating sphere of silver light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Zara stepped forward first. She placed her hand on the side of the sphere, and golden symbols lit up. Then Kiva followed, her hand lighting blue patterns. The core began to spin, faster, brighter. Then Ethan stepped forward, unsure. He touched the sphere. Nothing happened at first, but then the center glowed red. And the energy pulsed outward, wrapping around all. Three of them, a voice filled the chamber, deep and powerful. 3 paths, 1 choice. Pact reborn. Then a surge of light exploded from the sphere, shooting up through the moon's crust and into space. A beacon bright, ancient, unstoppable now, glowing across every nearby system. Back on the ship, the signal repeated itself. A clear message in Andari, an old Earth standard. Call to the forgotten, call to the loyal. The pact rises again. For a long moment, no one spoke. They didn't know if anyone had heard. But they had done it. Kiva sat down, exhausted, but smiling. "I felt it," she said. "The core accepted us." Zara nodded slowly, her eyes wet, for the first time in years. "I feel like I belong again." Ethan stood quietly, looking out through the ship's window into the stars. "If they come," he said, "we'll stand with them. If they don't, we keep fighting anyway." Suddenly, Kiva gasped and pointed. "At the screen, ships," she whispered. 3. No. 5. 10. They're responding. One by one, old vessels appeared, scarred, silent, but still alive. Symbols of lost colonies, rogue fleets, rebel survivors. They had all heard the call, and now they were answering. A comlink opened, and a deep voice spoke. "We thought the pact was dead, but we see now. We were only waiting." Zara stepped forward and said clearly, "I am Zara of the Lost Andari line. This is Kiva, daughter of the stars, and this is Ethan, the human who chose both of us. We did not come to rule," she continued. "We came to rise together." The voice replied, "Then we rise." The beacon still glowed behind them, a light in the dark, and from that moment on, the stars began to shift. The Syndicate still ruled most of the galaxy, but now, the Pact was reborn. The sky above the hollow moon burned with light. Ships once thought lost now floated proudly in orbit. The old banners of the Andari Pact waved again on screens, in holograms. And in the hearts of everyone who had waited for this moment, inside the command chamber of the newly reborn flagship, Zara stood at the front with armor over her golden skin. Kiva stood beside her, dressed in a deep blue robe, her silver hair pinned back, glowing softly under the lights. And Ethan, once a simple soldier, stood between them, not as a leader by blood, but as the one who had started it all. "He's not royalty," one rebel commander had whispered, "but he made the choice none of us did." Another replied, "He chose both. Now, fleets waited for orders all across the galaxy. Slavers, syndicate loyalists, and corrupt systems were hearing whispers. The pact was alive, and it had returned with a fire stronger than ever. Ethan stood before the fleet captains, his voice steady but humble. "I'm not here to give speeches," he said. "I didn't plan this. I didn't want to start a war. I just couldn't watch two people be treated like nothing." He looked at Zara and Kiva. "I chose both because no one should be left behind. Not in chains, not in silence." Kiva stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. "Our enemy is not just the syndicate. It's fear. It's silence. It's forgetting who we were before we lost." Zara lifted her head, her golden eyes shining. "Then we remind them," she said. "With ships, with truth, with unity." The room erupted in quiet cheers, not loud, but full of power. The kind of cheer that came from hearts long broken and finally healed. The first target was clear, a syndicate supply hub orbiting a dead world. It fueled the slave trade across 10 systems. For years, it had been untouchable. Not anymore. The reborn pact launched together. Moving like one blade in the night, Zara led. The fighter wings, flying faster than syndicate scanners could track. Kiva stayed on the command ship, guiding fleet movements, jamming enemy signals. Ethan flew alongside Zara in the old black strike craft. Heart pounding but steady, the syndicate didn't see it coming. By the time they reacted, the station was already on fire. Their communications shattered. They begged for backup, but the signal was blocked. Zara's voice echoed through the enemy system. "This is not a message," she said. "This is a reckoning." The pact forces disabled the weapons, freed the prisoners, and vanished into space again. Not one rebel was lost. The people cheered on backwater planets, whispered in slave pens, and raised their heads higher in broken cities. The fire was spreading. More ships joined them. Old war veterans, former slaves, human smugglers, even alien diplomats. They came because they saw something they hadn't seen in years. Hope. Ethan sat in the engine bay after the battle, wiping grease from his hands. Kiva entered quietly, holding a data pad. "Do you know what you've done?" she asked. "I caused a mess," Ethan replied, trying to smile. "You changed the galaxy," she said gently. "You made them believe again." Zara joined them a moment later, her armor scratched, her knife at her side. "I used to think only bloodlines had power," she said, sitting beside Ethan. "But you proved something different." "What's that?" Ethan asked. "That courage," she said, "isn't born, it's chosen." He looked at the two of them, once chained, once broken, now rising like stars. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a weapon. He felt like part of something greater. Weeks passed, battles were won, ground was taken. The syndicate began to fracture. Some tried to fight, others ran. The pact never demanded surrender. It offered something harder: change. One day, a child on a distant world asked her mother, "Who is that man in the story? The one who saved the Golden Warrior and the Silver Map Girl?" The mother smiled and said, "He was just a man, but he chose both." And that changed everything. And across the galaxy, that story grew. Not of a hero with a sword, but of a human with a heart. A heart that didn't see slaves. A heart that didn't care about rules. A heart that simply said, "No more." He didn't ask to be remembered, but the stars remembered him. And so did the ones who followed him. Zara became a commander, feared and respected. Kiva became the architect of a new alliance, building bridges with her voice and her mind. Ethan stayed beside them, not as a king, not as a leader, but as the man who chose freedom over power, love over reward. Both when everyone else said to choose one, the pact lived, the people rose, and across the galaxy, one truth echoed louder than any fleet. He chose both and changed everything.